Emily and Jack's love was the kind people wrote poems about. Fiery, consuming, and eternal. They were young and deeply in love, dreaming of a life together that stretched far beyond the horizon. Every moment they spent together felt like a chapter in a storybook. Their laughter echoed through sunlit meadows, their whispered secrets danced under the moonlight, and their plans for the future painted a vivid picture of endless joy. But as the seasons changed, something began to shift. It was subtle at first. A fleeting moment here, a missed glance there. Emily noticed it, though. She couldn't quite name it. Jack would grow quiet during their conversations, his gaze distant as if lost in thoughts he couldn't share. On their long walks, where words used to flow effortlessly, silences began to linger. Emily would catch him staring at her, his expression unreadable, and when she asked what he was thinking, he would only smile faintly and say, "Nothing." Around the same time, a girl named Claire began appearing in their orbit. She was a friend of Jack's family, cheerful and full of life, always quick to join in their conversations with a warmth that drew people in. Emily didn't mind her at first. Claire was friendly, perhaps a little too much so, but Emily had no reason to feel threatened. Yet, the unease grew. Subtle but persistent, like a faint crack in a mirror that widened each time Emily looked. She began to notice how Jack seemed lighter when Claire was nearby. It wasn't that he loved Emily any less, at least, that is what Emily told herself. Once, Emily saw Jack walking Claire to her car after a gathering. His head bent close to hers. It was innocent enough, but Emily couldn't shake the twist in her stomach. "Do you think Claire likes you?" Emily asked Jack one evening, trying to sound casual. Jack laughed softly, brushing the question off. "Claire? She's just a friend. Don't be silly." But the doubt lingered, and as Jack grew more distant, so did Emily's sense of security. Days turned into weeks, and Jack grew more distant. The man who once held her hand like it was his lifeline now avoided her touch. The late-night phone calls, the laughter, the whispered promises. They all faded into silence. Finally, Emily confronted him on a rainy evening under the old oak tree where they had first confessed their love. The rain soaked her hair and clothes, but she didn't care. She needed answers. "Jack, if you're not happy with me anymore, just say it," Emily pleaded, her voice trembling as tears mixed with the raindrops on her cheeks. He stood a few feet away, his hands shoved into his pockets, his gaze fixed on the ground. The boy who once promised her forever now looked like a stranger. "I'm not happy," he said, his voice cold and flat. The words hit Emily like a shock, stealing the air from her lungs. "You don't mean that," she whispered, stepping closer, searching his face for a flicker of the love they once shared. "Jack, please, tell me what's really going on." But he turned away, his jaw clenched tight. "I think we should end this," he said, the words cutting through the air like a knife. Emily reached out, grabbing his arm. "No, Jack. Don't do this. We can fix whatever it is. We can get through anything together. Just tell me what's wrong." Her voice cracked, her desperation spilling out in waves. Jack pulled his arm free, his movements stiff. "There's nothing to fix, Emily. I don't love you anymore." For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Emily stared at him, her heart splintering into 1,000 pieces. "You're lying," she said, her voice barely audible. "I'm not," he replied, though his eyes betrayed the storm raging within him. Emily's legs felt weak, her tears falling freely now. "How can you say that after everything we've been through? After all we dreamed of?" Jack turned away, his back to her, as if shielding himself from the pain etched in her voice. Dreams change, Emily. People change. You deserve better. I deserve the truth, she cried, her voice echoing through the rain. But Jack didn't answer. Instead, he began to walk away, his footsteps heavy, each step dragging him further from the girl who held his heart. Jack, Emily called out, her voice breaking. Please don't do this. He paused for the briefest moment, his shoulders stiff, as if the weight of his decision was too much to bear, but he didn't turn around. I'm sorry, he whispered, so softly that Emily barely heard it. And then he walked away, leaving her standing in the rain, her heart shattered and her love slipping away like water through her fingers. Emily spent months hoping Jack would come back, but he never did. He ignored her calls, her messages, and eventually, her heartbroken pleas faded into silence. The image of Jack and Claire lingered in her mind, and though she never saw them together again, a quiet suspicion took root. With time, Emily forced herself to move on. She finished her studies, entered a successful career, and eventually married a kind man who loved her dearly. They had 3 beautiful children, and life unfolded as it does, steady, unrelenting, and bittersweet. Decades passed. Emily, now nearly 60, had long since buried the ache of her love for Jack, though a part of her heart still carried his memory. One afternoon, Emily attended a funeral in a town far from her own. As she stood among the mourners, she recognized a face in the crowd. It was Claire. Her breath caught, memories flooding back. Burying her emotions, Emily followed the others to the cemetery. As the rituals drew to a close and the crowd began to thin, Claire approached Emily quietly, holding a small bouquet of flowers in her hands. Emily, Claire began, her voice soft and reflective. It's been so long. I've thought about you often over the years. How have you been? Emily hesitated, unsure of how to respond. I've been fine, she said, though her voice betrayed the weight of the years. And you? How's life been for you and Jack? Claire smiled faintly, her gaze distant. Life has been complicated. There's so much I wish I could have done differently, but we all make choices, don't we? She paused, her fingers brushing the petals of the bouquet she held. Do you ever think about the past, Emily? About the people we loved and lost? Emily's heart tightened. I do, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Claire kept talking as they strolled through the quiet cemetery, her voice steady yet laced with a hint of emotion. Eventually, she came to a stop before a modest, time-worn headstone. Lowering herself to her knees, she gently laid the bouquet at its base. Emily's breath caught as her eyes fell on the name etched into the stone. Jack Turner, 1963 to 1984. The sight hit Emily like a thunder, her knees buckling as a sharp gasp escaped her lips. She dropped to her knees beside Claire, her fingers reaching out hesitantly, almost afraid to touch the cold, unyielding stone. He passed away 3 months after he left you, Claire said gently, her voice breaking. He didn't want you to know he was dying. A terminal heart condition. He thought if he pushed you away, you'd be free to live your life without the burden of his pain. Tears spilled down Emily's cheeks, her trembling fingers brushing the letters of his name as the weight of the truth sank in. Claire placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. Emily closed her eyes, the wind brushing her cheek, gentle and familiar, as if Jack was there, saying goodbye. One last time.